Welcome back, everyone, to the Comic-Con podcast. This is episode 51. We're recording it December 29th, 2021. Like always, I'm one of your hosts, Milton the Manimal, and with me is my compatriot, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime. What's up, dog?
What's going on, man? It's the final countdown of 2021. I'm going to be ringing in the new year. So it's going to be funny because a lot of people are going to be listening to this on New Year's Eve. And then some people are going to be listening in 2022. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like a 1 year gap for some
Oh
people.
my God, the dichotomy that's occurring. So actually, before we started this, I was bitching to Justin about how annoyed I was about that this is episode 51 and not 52. And I guess that's our fault because we did take a week hiatus. That was back in March, man. I think it was makes sense, during my wedding. I think we took a
No,
week
we
off,
took
right?
off during Terrificon in July because you were on vacation and I went to Terrificon.
That's right. I went to Mexico and you went to Terrificon. That was we didn't take off during my wedding. I think you had a couple hosts, guest hosts, which
Yes.
we will talk about here in a little bit. But just to kind of give you an agenda of what we'll be doing today, we got a story from Justin, story time that he's been holding on to for a little while. We are going to talk about some of the guests we've had over this year, and then we're going to kind of do just a breakdown this year of some of our favorite stories and different genres and stuff we want to talk to you about. And we'll break that down a little bit more as we get closer. But this episode, we will not be doing much news, if at all, and just kind of talking about 2021 in terms of comics. So, like always, just want to say thank you for listening. If you are listening to us on one of the platforms, whether it's Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Anchor FM. If not, those are some of the other ones you can listen to us on. You know where you can find us as well on Milton the Manimal on IG, Nemesis Prime on IG, or the Comic-Con podcast on IG. And like always, you can also email us questions, voice memos, anything you want to hear, talk shit on us, tell us stories to the Comic-Con podcast at gmail.com. Which, please, man, if you're listening, man, I say man generically, but women and men, if you're listening, please send more stuff to us this year because the voice memos, it's so much fun. I know I say it every week, but damn, man, we haven't had one in a while. So, anyway, that is kind of what we've got today. Okay, so let's get started with our community section. So, Justin has a story that he's been holding on to for a little while. And every week, I think he's been excited to tell it, but he's like forgotten or we got busy with guests or whatever. But Justin, take the lead.
All right. So funny. This is just a quick funny story. So I was looking at some books on eBay, some Dr. Aphra variants that I didn't have. I think it's Dr. Aphra Volume 2, issues like 3 and number 4. They're the 1 in 25 ratio variants.
Okay.
And I go and try to add them to the cart and I go to hit like buy it now. And it's like the seller is not accepting payments for you at this time, or like you cannot buy from this person. So I'm like,
Hmm.
that's odd.
I've never
So
seen
I
that.
like, yeah, so I messaged him and he never got back to me, but I assume that like either I have him blocked, which I don't think is possible, or he has me blocked. So what I had to do was I actually had to like call up my mom and ask her if I can sign into her eBay account so I could purchase these 3 books because they were really good priced.
Did you get him?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you don't recognize the guy? Like maybe you lowballed him and talked shit to him previously or something.
Well, yeah, maybe that could be a possibility. He tried to lowball me on something and I just blocked him because that's typically what I do on eBay. So if you
Yeah.
obviously I'm the same name across like all platforms. Like eBay is the same name. If you want to look what I have for sale and it's the same logo as of the, Nemesis Prime. I usually end up blocking people who give me the lowest of low balls. So that's a possibility, but it was just so bad. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, this is such a great deal for like these variants. And I ended up picking up like another Star Wars book that I needed. So um it was great because I like literally had to like pay for it on my PayPal account, but then it ended up getting shipped to like my parents' house. And
You
my
should
mother my mother
you need
texted me, she's like, you have 3 books here. And I'm like, oh yeah. But it took so long that I completely forgot what I ordered.
you need to post them and then can you tag him and can you somehow tag him on like Instagram like, hey dude, still got these books regardless of your blocking or whatever.
Oh yeah, maybe that's a possibility.
You
I'm
should
gonna have
do
to look
that.
that up. But yeah,
Um
that's my
s-
funny little story.
well, speaking, what's the update on we never got an update on
Oh,
your
yes, the
scam book.
scam.
Yeah.
So what was it? Venmo denied my claim,
Okay.
and then they ended up freezing my account again, which I think was very odd. So then I actually got to speak to like a supervisor, and she was super nice about it. And she's like, "All right, well, I'll look into it some more. Uh, you know, reply to this email." And I haven't heard from her, but what I ended up doing was I ended up just going to my bank and calling it fraud.
Right.
And I basically told them that Venmo told me to reach out to my bank and put in a claim. So I ended up as of right now, I got the credit back from my bank.
Nice.
So $180 is back in my account. Hopefully it sticks.
So for those of you who may not know, check out one of our previous episodes. I'm not sure which one it was. Justin told a story about how he got gypped and screwed over on eBay, which actually, you know what?
Instagram, not eBay.
Instagram, should I tell about my interaction with this dude as well?
No, nobody wants to hear about that. That's too long.
Well, let's just say short story. I found the guy as well, and he was doing the same thing with another book, selling another, I don't even know what it was, a Batman book, which I then found on eBay as well. Contacted the seller, asked him if he's on Instagram, and he said no. And then I went through a whole rigmarole with this dude, messaging him back and forth and just telling him I wanted to purchase it and blah blah blah, and him asking, "Oh, send half now, and I'll send, and don't worry about it later," and just total scam. So
Hmm.
we had, it was a little bit more intricate, and I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, that guy's the worst, man. What was his name again?
Any cards, please?
Yeah,
33.
yeah. Any cards, please.
So
So
bad.
yeah, so that's our little community section for today. And we want to continue our community section. I know Justin's got a list. We want to say thank you to all the people who co-hosted and helped out this year in 2021, whether it was when one of us stepped out, usually me, or just co-host, to join us. So
Mhm.
go ahead, Justin.
So yeah, again, 2021, the first year that we did this podcast was, we talk about it all the time. We want to thank everybody who's out there listening and anybody who supports us. But it's of course this is the comic community podcast. We always want to bring on people that we like, content creators, whatever the case may be. So just a quick list of all the people that were on here in 2021. Of course, we got our friend Juan, the Retro Goon of Comic Book Fiend Club, our man Sith Lordly, JB from Discovery Bay Comics. You got Gabe from Gabe Loves 90s Comics, helped out one week. Uh, One of our best ones, Kingdom Comics, when we did our first live show on YouTube. Ooh,
Yeah,
that was a great one.
little drama with
And
that one too.
that
That
one
was
was
a good
some
one,
drama.
though, man. That was a good
And
one.
speaking of drama, we had our friend J2 Ramirez, of course, on here, another comic book fiend member with some drama back in the day. So that was really awesome. Of course, TiVo helped us out on the Shang-Chi movie review, which
Mhm.
was, I mean, he was dropping tons of knowledge on that one. So can't thank him enough. Our friend Matt, X Last Level Comics. We had our friend Greg, MTG Comics, when we did the King Kong stuff. More recently, of course, we had Newbie Comics on here last week. And of course, we can't forget over the summer, we had Jack, aka Mr. Bolo, on here. And then, other than that, of course, we had some artists and writers on here. Our friend of the show, Ken Marion, of course.
Yep.
We also had Alexia Van Housen and Sam Quitten, who did, of course, the Furious Tales over there for their publishing company, Sonopa Publishing. So we appreciate that. Definitely next year, we're going to get some more artists and writers on here. I already told Zach who our first artist is for 2022. I've been in contact with her. She says she's definitely down to be on the podcast. And if you guys have been following me on Instagram, you'll know that I just got myself a commission. It's actually by her. So you're
Yeah.
going to be seeing her soon on this podcast.
Yeah, it was a great year, obviously first year, and great hosts. A lot of them are personal friends of ours. A lot of them are guys and girls that we interact with on regular in the Instagram or the YouTube community. And and then some, like you said, some writers and artists and stuff that just have super influential and people you need to check out that we wanted to share with you. So it's been a great year, and a lot of that is because of our amazing co-hosts and guests that we've had. So thank you so much for everyone who took the time out to come on and talk shit with us for an hour, and just randomly. Usually it was more than that because behind the scenes we just like ramble on and on talking about stuff. So yeah, no, thank you so much for everyone. We hope to have, all of you, if we can, back next year, and some more as well, and new guests. You know, send us emails or something about guests you want to see, or people you'd like for us to have on. Obviously, if you put like James Tinian and like Jim Lee, that might be kind of hard for us to
But
do.
we'll try.
We'll try. Yeah.
We'll reach
No
out to
problem
them.
trying. Yeah. But we'd love to hear any suggestions or people you would like to have us have on here. That'd be great. So thank you to everyone once again from the Comic Con podcast. So that being said, we are going to move forward into our recap. We're calling it a recap, or
Yeah. Comic book recap.
our comic book recap, or like rankings for the year. Okay. So Justin came up with a couple categories of best of 2021, if you will. We have a couple categories we want to talk about. Obviously, some of the stuff that just happened in 2021. Some of these will bleed over, and you should be able to figure that out based on the titles or the genre. And then we also kind of have broken down as well things we liked, storylines we liked, or runs that we liked that we want to suggest to you if you have not read them. So some of the categories we're going to do is the best ongoing series of 2021. We're going to do best mini series of 2021, best writer of 2021, best artist of 2021. And then we're going to go into 5 issues that we suggest to everyone. And when we say 5, it could be 4, could be 6, but around that 5 issue realm, could be 8, whatever. You know what we mean, like a mini series type run. Then we're going to go into best 12 issues. Also, same thing, around 12 issues, could be more, could be less, and then around 30 issues. And these ones, the 5, 12, 30 marks, are just stories that we suggest, stories that maybe we reread, that we really, really enjoy, that we want to impart to you, as
Stories or series that didn't run on forever, that
right.
needed to end, ones that had a good concise story or story arc or event, something that's everybody should anybody who's out there listening should definitely check out if you can, whether in the trade format, hardcover, or if you can find the back issues in your local comic shop.
For sure. So, okay. So what do you want to start? Do you want to start with the 2021 stuff, or do you want to
Yeah,
start with like the 5,
let's
12,
do the
30 stuff?
2021. Let's do yeah, actually no, how about this? Yeah, let's do our other stuff and then we'll end with 2021.
I think that's a perfect idea. Okay.
So,
So first we will do 5 issues, 5 issue-ish.
mhm,
Is that even a word? Man, that's perfect. 5
5 issues.
issue-ish issues. Story. So you wanna start?
Yeah, and actually, since we are kind of talking about this real quick, we actually had a community support on this because since we were talking about this a few weeks ago. Our friend up in Canada, Comic Stash 416, sent us a message, and he put in his 2 cents on this. So his message to us was, "Your show continues to be on my playlist, boys. Heard your idea for recommending complete compact series. Just my 2 cents recommendations." His recommendations are the Squadron Supreme, which was a 12-issue mini, and the Inhumans mini by Paul Jenkins. I mention these two because they're kind of seen as minor characters in the Marvel lore.
Hmm.
So definitely the Inhumans one by Jenkins was badass. That kind of was the Marvel Knights. That kind of started that whole era of that. And the Squadron Supreme, I know you've talked about that previously.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it's the one. The one I was talking about is the Max series, Supreme Power, actually. So I think he's referring to like the Squadron Supreme issues. I don't think it's the same, but the one I was like with Supreme, I think it was just called Supreme Power. Um,
Mhm.
but that
That's
Squadron Supreme, I've heard great things about as well. I need to check that one out. He mentioned that before, right? On one of our,
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna have to do that one.
So
What year did he say?
so that one's the if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that started in 2008,
2008. Okay, yeah, you're right.
because there's
Oh,
other ones that
yeah, I've read this one. This is actually the one that crosses over with like the Ultimate Universe, I believe,
okay.
where like Nick Fury from the Ultimate Universe shows up. It's kind of a continuation. It's right after, or like kind of right before, or during, or after Ultimatum, the Ultimate Power limited series. So yeah, I've read this one. This is a good one.
So there you go. That's something out there from our listeners that says to go check out either Squadron Supreme, the 2008 run, or check out the Inhuman stuff, because of course the Inhumans has some Yelena Belova stuff. But let's kind of start off for our 5 issue, up to 5 issues, whether it's a mini event, whatever the case may be. Um, I'll go first.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, and this is probably the only, this is going to be the only Star Wars one of the night because, like, of course, could do all Star Wars, but a read that I feel like everybody needs to check out was the final limited series done by Dark Horse Comics was Darth Maul, son of Dathomir. If
Oh
you,
yeah.
of course, have watched the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, and then into Rebels, you know that Darth Maul, towards the ending seasons or final two seasons of Clone Wars, he loses Savage Opress and he fights with the Emperor. And then all of a sudden, the next time we see him, he's back with Crimson Dawn. But what happens is you really don't know what has happened in between that time. So the son of Dathomir actually picks up right after that, where he's in captivity. Of course, you get to see General Grievous, you see Count Dooku, and there's a whole big thing that happens between him and the Mandalorians of how they break him out of prison. There's a big fight between Dooku and Darth Maul. Then you get Mother Talzin in there, and of course you get all the Mandalorians part of like the Death Watch. But it's definitely a 4-issue mini that I highly recommend anybody checking out. The art's pretty great as well. It's also got some early dark saber stuff, and again, it's just a nice little mix that throws in where the Clone Wars is, because we really didn't know what happened to Maul after that season, because then, like, the next season is all about, just kind of the ending parts of the war, and then all of a sudden, when we just got that final season that just came out, I guess, a year or 2 ago, all of a sudden, Maul's back.
Right.
So, highly recommend 4-issue mini, Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir.
And you know something about this series as well is believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the only Dark Horse that is considered Marvel canon.
Yes.
So they brought it over. So I mean that says something about this story that they liked it so much that it was so maybe I was also very, uh compact and like consolidated story. So it was safe to bring it over and not really have any implications. But also the story was just so good that Marvel considers it canon to the Marvel Star Wars universe, which is cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the one thing that's not says Legends. It was like the first Marvel trade paperback that they did for from a Dark Horse book.
right. Sweet. So okay, for me, 5 issues. 5 issues. So this one was kind of tough because I wasn't totally in the know, I guess, on what the instructions were for this. So some of these, I didn't pick up something great. But this one, and this should be an obvious one, I think. But we've talked about it all year long. And if you haven't read it yet, this is probably even pointless for me to bring it up. But Stray Dogs. Okay. I mean, obviously it was the big hit of this year for a mini series. It needs to be read. If you have not read it, if you've been listening to us and been on the fence about it, please take this opportunity to just read it. It's like 5 issues anyway. It's really short, great, fun, dark, and different. It was just really, really awesome. And once again, shout out to Justin for telling me about it in the first place. But I'm not going to go on and on about Stray Dogs because we've kind of done that all year.
Mhm.
But I think for sure this would be a mini that I would keep going back to. In fact, I'm looking right now at the trade paperback that I would just go back and pick up and read at any point if I decided to. So, for sure, it's going to be in my library of favorite comic storylines of all time. So, Stray Dogs 1 through 5.
All right. Good pick. Definitely, without a doubt. Of course, while we're recording this, the newest Stray Dogs Dog Days #1 just dropped
Yeah,
this week as
I'm
well.
excited
So
to read that.
I have not picked it up. I didn't get a chance to go to my LCS, but I definitely will be picking up those 2 issues. I didn't go crazy and buy all the variants, but at least get the cover A's and cover B's.
Is it
And
two issues or is it just a
yeah,
one
it's only
shot?
2 issues. I
Okay.
think it's just, yeah, it's just 2 issues. It's basically all the dogs that were in part of that 5-issue mini. So,
Okay. Yeah, I ordered them, but it hasn't come in yet. So
mhm.
cool.
So next, so our next contender is a issue or series that's up to 12 issues or around that 12 issue mark. For myself, I went with Young Avengers Volume 1. Of course, you have tons of first appearances in this. Of course, the writer Alan Heinberg and the artist first official work from Jim Chung. All those first appearances in that first issue, great 12 issues without a doubt. If you cannot afford to get an Avengers #1 or Young Avengers #1, the 2 through 12 are very easily, or I should say, priced very well where you can buy them. Get out there and read this series. There's so much that happens in these 12 issues. There's so many characters that show up. And again, it's a contained story. It's not gone super long. The 12 issues is a great read. Of course, it sets up stuff for the future for the MCU that we know about. Of course, with
Right.
Kate Bishop, Hawkeye just ending, and then of course Wicked and Speed in there, which we've already seen. Stature's in there. You're getting all these characters that are the future of the MCU, and this is the time I think that people should be reading this series without a doubt.
Yeah, I think one of the things about this series that's kind of overlooked, and maybe because we've see so much of it now. Obviously, now in Marvel, we have tons of teams of young characters. But prior to Young Avengers, we really only had like the new X-Men, like the new X-Men version of Young Mutants. We had
Like
the
Gen
New
X.
Mutants as well. Generation
Mhm.
X. Really, only X-Men had like kind of like dove into that younger generation. But Young Avengers came around and was actually like probably like the groundbreaking story that kind of moved us in that genre. And it was after Young Avengers, you get things like Miles and the Champions and Ms. Marvel and Miss America and all those things. Like they kind of paved the way, the Young Avengers did, for the Marvel universe away from X-Men, obviously, to kind of open the door for these younger characters. And I remember picking this up when it came out, like in the weekly, and it was amazing. It was a great read, and yeah, definitely read that series for sure.
Okay. What do you
So
got for your round
so
12 series?
for me, for 12 issues, this is something, to be honest, and maybe I should be moderately embarrassed about this. I don't know, but I didn't pick it up until the movie came out on Netflix. But now I love it. Is the Old Guard. So the Netflix movie Old Guard came out, and then I went and picked up the trades for Image Comics. Obviously, there's like I think it's. Let me see real quick. I got the trades right here. It's a total of 8 issues, I think, and then they also did the little 6 issue miniseries that kind of tagged in the Tales of the Old Guard, which talk about like some of the stories from the characters. And I just really love the story here. This idea of these people who have been around and are kind of immortal. They've been around for forever, some of them for a very, very long time, and they don't know why. They don't know what their mission is, and they just kind of try to do good in the world, but at the same time, they have zero idea, and just the implications of being around for that long and the things that they've gone through, and then all of a sudden finding a new member. It's awesome. And it's one of those rare situations where the comic and the live action are both great, like amazing. And definitely check it out from Greg Rucka, Image Comics, The Old Guard. There's 2 trade paperbacks. There's also, I'm not sure if they released it in trade paperback format yet, but the Tales of the Old Guard as well, 1 through 6. So
Mhm.
roughly around 12 issues there.
Yeah, it's definitely a great read. I remember I didn't read it up until the movie came out, and then I went back
Yeah.
and found it. And yeah, it's definitely a badass miniseries, and they've done those new minis on the old guard stuff. So
Mhm.
good pick, definitely for the next ongoing. So let's move on to our final series of issues. So this is a category where we can go around 30 issues. And again, Zach and I didn't talk about this prior, so we don't know what each other is really picking. This is definitely going to throw Zach for a loop, but
Ooh.
for my up to 30 issues, and it's right around 30. I think it ended at like 31 or 32, and then and then after the series ended, they end up throwing one more. But Superior Spider-Man.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good
So
one.
this is the best of the Spider-Man for me, I believe.
For sure. For
Dan
sure.
Slott writing it. You have early Ryan Stegman art, and then you get Giuseppe Camaculi towards the end of that run. Like this when I love Spider-Man. This is like the Batman version of Spider-Man. Like, what would Spider-Man do if he was more like Batman? Like, had no restraints, like fought villains and didn't care because, of course, it's Otto, Octavius, like, and everything that happens, it all leads up to the return of Peter Parker. But like, just the whole initial, like, what was it, 700? I think is when it ended, and
Yeah.
just the hate that Dan Slott got of like killing off Peter Parker, and then everybody was like, "Oh, we got to check out this Superior Spider-Man." And I didn't think this series was going to be good, but man, that full series was pretty badass. From
Yeah.
and it,
I agree,
It's
man. And I'm not like I've said a million times, I'm not a Spider-Man fan, but that's Superior. I read all those when they came out because I was like, okay, Doc Ock is Spidey? Hell yeah. And even like the whole like Ghost Peter Parker thing was
mhm.
awesome. It was done super, super well. And like watching Octavius kind of try to do good, but still be Octavius, and then kind of like the merging of the two of them. I mean, it was so, so good.
And it's
Eh,
definitely a series that, again, like, you can read it, and it doesn't matter where the Marvel universe is now.
Right.
Like, all you need to know is it's not Peter Parker, and it was just in a time frame where they wanted to change up the status quo, and it's a great read, like, regardless. Like, you don't need to know too much prior other than, again, Otto is now Spider-Man and Peter is in limbo in a way. And again, it leads up to the Edge of the Spider-Verse storyline eventually, but definitely with the 30 issue run, I highly recommend checking this out. And I'm actually going to try to reread this series soon. I
Mhm.
know it's in a hardcover, and I think they also have it in omnibus, if I'm not mistaken, as well, for the
I
full run.
I believe so also. I think I saw it, but yeah, I don't know for sure.
And so, what about you? What do you got for?
So for 30 issues, I had to pick. Obviously, I'm an X-Men guy. And if I was ever to, there's one X-Men storyline I can go back and reread over and over again because I love this so much, is Age of Apocalypse. And I might be pushing the 30 issues here, but such a good run. And typically, I'm not a big fan of these stories that go into like the alternate universes because there's no like lasting implications really. Like that, usually that stuff kind of bothers me because it's like, you're kind of wasting my time now because it's not going to matter in the long term. But this actually did have a lot of lasting implications for the X-Men moving forward. But you had all the different teams. I love the shakeup of the players. Magneto kind of taking the role of Xavier, some of the heroes being bad in terms of like Havoc and Cyclops and Beast. Um, just such a good run, and all the different miniseries were written so well with different tones, like each tone, like whether there was Generation Next, Astonishing X-Men, Amazing X-Men, Gambit and the Externals, X Fact or Factor X, and then even the like the X Chronicles and the X Universe. I mean, it's just so good. I love it. I try to wait a couple years, and then I always recrack open the Age of Apocalypse omnibus and the companion and read back through them. But like I said, you got a lot of great characters that were introduced in that series that went on. So you had X-Man show up, you had Dark Beast, Sugar Man, Blink, all characters that kind of were more popular in their Age of Apocalypse versions than they were in the mainstay universe.
Mm,
Holocaust and God, there's so many characters that were just so great in that run. But if there's one X-Men run, if you aren't an X-Men person, I would read that because honestly, kind of like what you said too, with Superior, it's something you can read at any time. It doesn't really matter about the X-Men universe, and you can read it and you can have fun with it. You don't have to have a knowledge necessarily of the X universe to enjoy it. I mean, granted, some characters, if you don't know what they were in the regular universe, it may not have as much importance in the new one, but
mhm.
it's great. Have you ever read that one?
I've read some of it.
Some
I
of it,
mean, it's been so long since
yeah.
I read all that. You know, oh God,
The Joe Mad stuff is all Joe
yeah.
like doing a lot of the artwork. I think that was kind of when I first got introduced to Chris Bachalo. He was doing
Hmm.
Generation Next in that,
Yep.
and I really enjoyed his art. A lot of people, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a funky artwork, but I like it a lot. Um, so yeah, that's me. That's my 30 issues, more or less. Age of Apocalypse storyline.
Nice. So hopefully everybody out there, will give some of these a read. Again, you should be able to find them the majority, I would say, at a local comic shop. Again, maybe in either like a set box, trade paperback, maybe if you're doing digital, I'm pretty sure sometimes even the digital is pretty cheap for a lot of these things. So
Yeah,
if you get a chance, go out there and pick these up. They're definitely reads that both myself and Zach recommend for people. Um, and they could be on, your list for a long time. And again, a lot of these things do have key characters and they're key issues. So you never know if you want to buy it now just for a good read or you want to get them, hold on to them for a while. And then hell, you never know what they're going to be worth. But I did like this. I thought this was a great idea to do.
yeah, that was a good
And of
idea.
course, because this is a comic book podcast. So let's kind of move on to our final stuff, the 2021, rounding it out.
Yeah, best of 2021. So, like I said, we got a couple categories here. We got best ongoing, best miniseries, best writer, and best artist. So, let's do reverse. Let's start with best artist, then we'll go writer, mini, and then ongoing.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's start with artist, and it's probably going to only be you talking here. So, 'cause I
That's
just
fine.
don't. You say like artist, and I'm like, I don't know, like Jim Lee. Oh, like I don't pay attention to artwork.
So this was really tough because uh I guess how do I don't want to like give it away, but like for me it was
Okay.
just really tough to put like an artist to a title because there was one artist that actually is in two titles, but I didn't want to give it all to one series. So for me, I think my top artist for 2021 was probably Tony Daniels. Coming back doing Noctera with
Ooh,
Scott
yeah,
Snyder,
that's a good one.
just badass. Tony Daniels has been around forever.
Yeah.
Since the mid '90s, for God's sakes. His Batman run, like prior to New 52, is obviously one of my favorites. Battle for the Cowl, and then just everything that he did in the New 52 and post. But Noctera was just so badass
Mhm.
this year for Scott Snyder and him, and I'm really looking forward to that series continuing. And hopefully, once they announce what they're going to be doing, whether it's the show or movie with them. So that was my favorite artist for 2021.
That's a good one. I think I'm gonna go with. I'm just kind of it hit me when you said Tony S. Daniels, and then you said Scott Snyder, and it made me think. I'm gonna go with Capullo. Uh, I love Capullo's stuff in the Dark Knight's Death Metal this year. Obviously, that was kind of a little bit of 2020 as well, bleeding into 2021. But
Hmm.
I think it's hard to beat Capullo. Um, he's just so great. Like I said, I don't pay attention a lot to artwork, unless it's like really bad. That's usually, honestly, if I notice your artwork, it's typically because I think it's like super bad and I just can't read it. Like whoever's doing the art currently for Justice League, which is like, let me talk about this once again, dude.
Hmm.
Justice League has to be the worst comic right now to read. It's god awful. The Bendis stuff is dog shit. And then the art this week, and I can't even, I'd have to look at my previous issue to see if it was the issue before whatever came out this week, but it's horrible also, dude. So, worst artist of this year, whoever is doing Justice League. Currently, issue 71, I believe, just came out.
I guess we won't be having that person on the podcast in
God, dude,
2022.
it's just stupid. Yeah, it's good. Like, sir, why is your art so garbage? Could you please
Oof.
explain? Um,
All right.
so yeah, Capullo for me, that easy one right there.
Cool. All right.
So next we have the best writer of the year. I'll go ahead and start because I think mine is pretty given. I
Okay.
think you'd be hard pressed to not say James Tinian the fourth, uh, as the best writer of 2021. I mean,
Hmm.
he's writing Batman. He was writing Detective. Maybe did it bleed into
Yep.
2021? I'm not sure. Okay, so
Mm,
did
close.
it?
If not, he probably stopped before. But
Well, whatever. He had awesome detective run as well.
hmm
We had Something is Killing the Children, House of Slaughter, Last House on the Lake,
nice house in the lake.
Nice House on the Lake. I was thinking Last House on the Left. Nice House on the Lake. Dude, Tinian was hands down the goat of 2021, I think, in terms of art
Hmm.
writers. It's a no-brainer, and I know that's kind of why you stayed away from it. But I think I couldn't just not bring him up. He's just too good. What about you?
So for me, and I'm glad you didn't pick the same person I did, but for me it was Kieran Gillen, man.
Oh,
You had
yeah,
the ending of Die from
yeah.
Image, and just the continuation of Once and Future with Boom Studios, man. Absolutely, just killing it this entire year. And that was probably my honorable mention for artist was Dan Mora. Dan Mora has been doing, of course, Once and Future since the beginning, and this week was his last issue on Detective Comics. And even in Detective Comics, it's just killer art. And I did read this week's Detective, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but I know you read Detective, right?
No, I kind of stopped, but I'm going to with the new. This is the Aftermath issue, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't read it.
All right.
No,
So
but this
so
next run I'm going to read for sure.
So obviously you're not going to read it, but in this issue, there's a one panel shot of an old woman who is the old woman from Once and Future, the grandma.
No way.
Yeah,
Okay,
swear to
well,
God.
I'll probably read it
Like
now.
it's really cool. Like I'm like, oh my God, is that Granny from Once and Future?
Is it
But yeah,
obvious?
oh, it's 100% obvious. It's
Oh,
without a
cool.
doubt obvious. We'll show. I'll show you
Okay.
after we're done with the podcast. But yeah, Kieran Gillen for 2021 for me. Um, killed it on Die, and that's another series that had its story and it ended when it needed to end. And Once and Future has just been every month or every other
Yeah.
month when they're coming out with these issues is just killing it. And Gillen is just a top notch writer for me. So he was my favorite writer for 2021. What about you?
Yeah, I'm a big Kieran Gillen fan. I think he's awesome. I didn't think of it in terms of like if I had to like rate between him and Tinian, but if I
Mm,
did, now that you brought him up and I had to like rate between the two, I still think I go with Tinian because he's also Kieran Gillen's writing Eternals right now, and I have a hard time with it, which I
hmm
thought was like it really surprised me because I was excited. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, I'm going to read this Eternals, which I'm not a massive Eternals fan, but I saw Kieran Gillen. I was like, okay, I'll definitely read this. But I don't know, man. I'm not crazy about it right now, but I do like him. I mean, his stuff is amazing. So,
Yeah, the fact that he's writing 3 different series, well, 2 and a half because the one ended, but it just
right.
to be and then again, this is the same thing with James, is like the ability to write several different projects and have these world building all over the place is just crazy.
With different publishers also.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not even like you're writing like I mean, one thing to be writing 3 titles in the DC universe or 3 titles in the Marvel because they always kind of bleed over, you know what I mean? But they're
Mhm.
writing 3 separate stories. It blows my mind how they keep it all compartmentalized, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's really cool. That's a good one. That's a good choice. Okay, so best mini series of 2021. So same thing, we're kind of keeping this around that 5 issues mark, whether it's a little below, a little above, but mini series. So why don't you go ahead and start off on this one?
For me, miniseries, I have, Zach said it before, Stray Dogs. It
Right.
it was the book that came out of nowhere. I grabbed the issue 1 and I immediately told Zach and I immediately told everybody here on this podcast
Yeah.
that listens to us. Since that time, that was the book to read, and those 5 issues were badass, without a doubt. Tony Flex, Trish Foster just killed it this year. So that is it is a must read. It is your must read for 2021 if you did not read it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I best mini for sure, definitely the best mini of 2021, but I had to put it on my like my all-time, like thinking about stuff I could go back and reread. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where it showed up, but I kind of stole your thunder, I guess, on that
No,
one
no, it's
a little
fine.
bit. So best mini for me, and it's not even done yet, dude, which I can't wait. Maybe in a
Oh,
month
I
or
know.
two
It just says, yeah, this would have been my other one.
is TMNT Last Ronin. That's what would have been in yours?
Yeah, that
Oh,
would have been my
really?
other one.
I actually wasn't really sure if you were like enjoying this that much.
Oh no, definitely. I haven't read a
Oh, yeah.
Turtles book in 20 years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, TMNT Last Ronin is awesome. We've had 4 out of the 5 issues. They kinda come out every, what, couple months, I think, something
6
like that.
months?
Is it same? Sometimes it feels that way. I think it's
Oh,
like
it's
2
crazy.
months. Every 2 or 3 months it comes out. So the last issue should be coming out soon. Going into it, if you don't know, it's kind of the final story of the turtles. We know that, and I'm not gonna spoil anything here. We know that one turtle is alive out of all the turtles. And then we also kind of get a breakdown of where all our supporting cast members are as well. So you find out
Mhm.
the fate of Splinter, Casey Jones, April O'Neil, Shredder, Baxter, um, the Fugitoid. Uh, who else? Am I missing anyone else?
April's daughter?
April, yeah, you get April's daughter is a new
Mhm.
character. Um, I think you get maybe some Karai. I think we find out what happened to
Yes.
Karai as
Mhm.
well. I can't wait till when the last issue comes out. I'm going to reread them again, and then right before the last issue. But
Yeah, that's the
so
that's the issue with that with this book,
yeah,
is that
you
they come
forget.
out so
Yeah.
far and you're like, "I have to go back and read the previous issue because it doesn't make sense."
Yeah, I know, dude. It's so frustrating. And that's kind of what was to go back with Die too. Die took that really long break,
Yep.
and Die was kind of a little. existential in some ways, you know. So it was kind of like a lot to read it in a little bit, and then you lost it. They took like a couple months off, and I remember being like, "Oh God, what the hell's going on again?" Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know about that. You know, it always loses steam when that shit happens. But the artwork's great in this. It's the original. Uh, oh God, mind blank.
Kevin Eastman, Matt
Yeah,
Laird.
Eastman, and it's just so good. And I love how they do the flashbacks as well, like in black and white, to kind of harken
Mhm.
back to that. And the art is just so good.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely the whole Ronin, the last Ronin idea, and it's good. It was probably would have been like my honorable mention for
yeah,
miniseries for 2021,
yeah.
kind of
The
bleeding over into
Eastman
2020 and
Peter Laird,
2022.
yeah, so good. Okay, and then what do we have last? We have the best ongoing series of 2021.
Mhm.
You want to go, or you want me to go?
Yeah, yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
So this series was originally slated only at a mini, but then it did so well that I had once it became an ongoing, I had to put it as my favorite ongoing series for 2021. And you'll be surprised to know that it's not Star Wars and it's not DC.
Okay.
Silver Coin.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say Boom Studios.
Oh no, let me tell you, I think this is and this also would have been my favorite writer for 2021 would have been W. Maxwell Price, who
Mhm.
does, of
Ha
course,
ha.
Haha and
Yeah.
Ice Cream Man. But I feel like Silver Coin is the way I felt when Ice Cream Man first came out, and it was just amazing. And the fact that you have Michael Walsh who does the art in every issue, but every issue is written by a different person. And you have Chip Zdarsky, you had Kelly Thompson, you had trying to think off the top of my head. Jeff Lemire did an issue, Ram V did an issue, and even Joshua Williamson, I think that's his
Mhm.
name. He
Yeah.
did an issue, and that's what's great about this series is that every issue is done by a different writer, but it still maintains the idea of the silver coin and the horror aspect of it, and it's just something that I can absolutely see them doing something with, like a Netflix horror show, but I
Yeah.
just think it's something that everybody should be reading, like, yeah, there's horror in the mind of creatures, like, obviously, something is killing the children, there's horror in, other types of monsters and stuff like that, but this we're talking about a coin, and the idea of this coin that just has horrific outcomes is just such a great series, and you never know what you're going to get until you actually open up the book because you don't know how they're going to play out each issue.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I remember
um,
you talking about this, and I never read it.
mhm.
So I'm gonna do it. I'm going on eBay right now, and I found a 1 through 7. 7 issues so far, right? Does
Yeah, so
that
up
sound
to
right?
7.
Boom, just bought them. I'm gonna have to read that because you know what it sounds like hearing you talk about it too. Like it kind of reminds me of like Black Mirror on like Netflix.
Yes.
Like obviously there was no like necessarily there wasn't like a theme that kind of went across everything, but
Mhm.
like each almost like Twilight Zone type shit. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna check it
exactly
out.
what it's like. So, for me, I love sticking with the series. I didn't think that it was going to go after 5 issues. I know the first issue went to like a second and even maybe a third printing, if I'm not mistaken. But uh, every month when this comes out, man, I this is like my favorite read because again, I don't know what I'm going to be expecting. Of the 7 issues, I think my favorite issue was it was called High Score. It's about a kid who was playing an arcade and being bullied and I don't want to give too much away, but
Mhm.
that's just the
Huh.
base of the issue. But there's so much stuff, and they still really haven't done like an origin of the silver coin. So,
Interesting. Yeah, I'm reading an article right now about it switching over to be an ongoing. That's
what
cool.
about you? What was your favorite ongoing series of 2021?
So I have an honorable mention, then I have my real one. So
Mhm,
my honorable mention is the X-Men. Okay. Like obviously all the stuff that's going on, the Hickman stuff with X-Men has been awesome this past year. And I believe it was also last year, I think is when it
mhm.
started, but everything X-Men has been great. Even the bad stuff has been good. So best ongoing is X-Men. But if I have to actually say the best ongoing read of 2021, I think I said it a couple of weeks ago, man, when it ended, is Daredevil, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. This Daredevil run was I don't want to use the word groundbreaking because obviously it wasn't groundbreaking, but I think it was just so good. It was so good, and I don't think it'll be, like it's never gonna surpass like Frank Miller's runs, like his character developing and like you won't no one will look back and be like, oh, the Chip Zdarsky run is like you have to read it, like in terms of like the character change or anything like that. But it's just so well written. I feel like it really hones in on Daredevil's character, um, and like what's important to him and like how he operates and everything. And it just has his like main cast all there. And it's not like this sprawling story. It's pretty like contained and concise. I think it was 30 issues with an annual. We're even getting kind of like an end of the run event with the Devil's Reign that's going on right
Hmm.
now, which already 2 issues in is amazing. Um, and you're going to have a lot of little like splinter mini series going on with Devil's Reign as well. But I know I said it a couple weeks ago. Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil was one of the best runs that took place during 2021. Obviously, I think it started a couple years ago, but great run. If you're a Daredevil fan, you got to check it out for sure. So,
Now, do you also think that it's a great read to pick up because of everything that's been happening right now at the end of 2021 with the return of, and this is spoilerish, but
oh
at this point you have to. I
yeah,
guess people have to know if they've seen. You had the return of Charlie Cox,
hmm
Daredevil in Spider-Man, and of course you had in Hawkeye. You had the return of Kingpin. So now you had all those, the Netflix characters come over. Now they're part of the MCU, and people like even myself, like I watched Daredevil season one, really wasn't a fan of it. I watched Punisher 1 and 2, but I never watched season two of Daredevil.
oh
And
man,
for some, I know it's terrible, and everybody's out there is like, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't see it." Like, is it like a good idea to like pick up the run if maybe they haven't watched it or watch those and really want to just get a like an inkling of what could be in the future of
yeah,
the MCU?
yeah. So, and here's the other thing about the run is you don't have to know. Sometimes with with the Marvel characters, it can be daunting. Like, oh, I don't know much about Daredevil. I haven't read his whole history and past, and you don't have to with this run. Like,
Mm,
um, I'll kind of give you an idea of what it's about. Basically, issue one, Daredevil goes a little overboard and accidentally kills someone. So, like right out the gate, that's pretty much the tone for the whole run. Him trying to come to terms with what he did. Eventually, he goes to jail. There's kingpins like the mayor of New York during this run. Elektra shows back up, but it's very. You don't have to know like a lot of the history of Daredevil or any of that stuff. And I do think it's very street and like
mhm.
there's no you'll never see him. Unfortunately, as I say this, I think I'm also remembering that there is some like King in Black tie-ins and shit like that. So I was about ready to say like there's no like events that occur with like the Avengers and stuff. But of course, I mean the dude operates in New York and all these symbiotes came. Like there had to like
Mhm.
mention it. Um, but yeah, I think you can read it as all those things, as like an introductory to Daredevil, see if you like them. I think you're right, just to kind of like pique the interest of the television shows. In fact, dude, what's funny is I was on Netflix the other day and how Netflix shows like your top 10
Yeah.
or top 10 most watched right now. Daredevil is on there right now. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that's because of all the Hawkeye stuff and the Spider-Man No Way Home stuff. So I think there is a renewed interest in Daredevil. We are in kind of that phase we get between TV, movies, and comics where like we don't know where the character is going to show back up live action, and so you have to enjoy the comics in the meantime. And I think this Chip Zdarsky run will definitely hold you over. It's so good,
Mhm.
so good.
Perfect for somebody to try out who hasn't been in it. And again, like you said, that you don't need to know the whole history.
Right?
And even like someone like myself, I haven't read, since like the Shadowlands, and
Yeah.
even before that, like the 90s stuff, like Fall from Grace and all that
Mhm.
stuff prior, and growing up on that story stuff, that storyline for Daredevil. So for me, like I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for me just to like pick up the full run and read it, to be invested in a character that's now going to be part of the MCU going forward.
For sure, for sure.
So
So yeah, so
cool.
that is our list for 2021, and then kind of mini series, maxi series, mini maxis ongoings that we think you guys should check out if you haven't already. But that's really kind of how we're going to wrap up this year. We're not going to go into what we're currently reading. We kind of just told you that. So,
Mhm.
what do you any signing off you want to do for 2021?
Again, when Zach and I started this the end of last year, we talked about it. We didn't know what it was going to become. We love every minute of it. We love talking every week, talking to everybody. Love the messages, love the support. The podcast is a great platform. I listen to it on a weekly basis every Friday, if not Saturday, just to make sure everything's all right. Um, it's just so much fun. So we appreciate everybody out there. Our biggest thing, for 2022 is please share, let other people know about the podcast. That's, the biggest thing. If you know of somebody who we should have on the show, shoot us a message. Again, articles. If you listen to us on iTunes, I know the majority of people do listen to us on iTunes, according to our analytics. Please leave us a review. Like, leave some comments in the review. That's,
Mhm.
I guess how people can find out more about us. But please share it. That's, our biggest thing we could do for us, for listening to us on a weekly basis. And shit, the fact that we did 51 out of 52 weeks with both Zach and I having full-time jobs, life, everything. It's great. And again, all the people that helped us along the way in this past year, the co-hosts, the guest hosts, writers, artists. Thank you guys and girls so much.
Yeah,
That's it.
like when Justin and I kind of, well, I guess it would have been in 2019 when Justin and I, or no, in
2020.
2020 talked about doing this. There was a lot of reasons why we wanted to do this, and there was like some, you know, anger and situations that occurred to both of us that kind of like kickstarted a lot of this. And we always talked about kind of like the airing of grievances, if you will, as well. And we touched on some of the hotter topics, and we're not unwilling to hit on some of them. Of course, there's some out there that people have been clamoring to hear that we haven't really touched on, but who knows what 2021 will hold or 2022 will hold. But I think one of the big things we're trying to do this year, fingers crossed, hopefully, we can get back to some form of normal, is
Hmm.
go out and interact in the community, like some more cons. Like we said, we're planning on going to Planet Con in Kansas City in April. And that's just kind of one of the ones we have on the books for now, but we'll probably be looking at some other opportunities and things that we can do to actually get out in the community and interact with you guys. So please let us know if you have any that you're like, hey, come check out this con. Shoot it to us. Let us know. Like we both have full time jobs, but we both have a lot of freedom as well to kind of like go do some stuff, and we want to get out there and interact. So please let us know if there's something we should check out for sure. And like Justin said, thank you so much for all the support this year. I hope you had a great year. I hope 2022 is better for every single person out there. Couldn't be hard, right? I mean, it's been a pretty good
Yeah.
year for me as well, but shit, man, the world is it's a little rough right now. So,
Yeah, that
uh,
2021 was looking good, and now the end of year, all of a sudden things are turning back down. But you know what? If you come here and you want to just listen, get away from the world for an hour, listen to the Comic Con podcast.
yep,
Real quick, just happy new year to everyone. That's
yep.
all I
Happy
have
New
to
Year.
say. Zach, it's been, and just to you, Zach, you've been a fucking great co-host for the past year. So much fun. We always have great conversations before the show, after the show, during the week. It's just crazy what the world turns. I'm
Mhm.
here in New Jersey, Zach's out in Texas. The friendship that him and I have been able to, you know, grow over the past year and a half has just been awesome. And you never know where your friendship, where you could find someone in this type of community.
Yeah, same man, and same back to you. And great co-host. Honestly, and most people, if they know me and if they know Justin, they probably know that Justin pulls most of the weight when this is going on. He does the majority of the marketing and like the posting and stuff. I'm not very good at that. Maybe that will be one of my 2022 resolutions is to do a little bit more than that. So um thank you, Justin, also for being a great co-host. And yeah, I mean, it's funny, like we have to, and we've said this on previous episodes that a lot of times we have to not talk about stuff because we
Mm.
save it for the week's episode because we talk like pretty much every day, sending messages or something.
Mm.
So it's good, it's organic, it's natural. It's just two friends talking about comics, and that's I think that's what brought this podcast into fruition was kind of your and I desire to just do that away from all the bullshit of like the quote unquote influencers or the people who are
Mm.
trying to market themselves and do all these things and inevitably just show themselves to be fake. I think
Yep.
hopefully our podcast doesn't come across that way. So
Yep. We'll beat Joe Rogan one day.
yeah, well, gosh, man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
If comics can beat Joe Rogan, I don't know. Joe Rogan's he's a stud, man. So
Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
that's all we got for 2021 is in the books, like Justin likes to say. And we will see you on the other side, 2022, episode 1, season
Maybe.
2 of
Yeah.
the Comic-Con podcast. I think that's what we got to do. Season 2, the Comic-Con podcast, episode 1.
Yeah.
So
Peace out, everybody.
later, guys.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. Bye-bye.